Yo, what's up, y'all? It's been a minute. It's been 10 days since I completed my 40-day fast, and I thought it would be a good idea to check in, um, talk about how the refeed is going, but also kind of give a recap of the journey that I went on, leading up to it, during it, after it. I also posted on Reddit the playlist that I had with the daily update videos, and I got a bunch of questions from a bunch of people that I'd like to address in this video. So yeah, I'd like to maybe do like a multi-part video. Maybe I'll start with what the inspiration was to do this 40-day fast in the first place. Kind of talk about the early days of the fast and where my mentality was at uh, with that. I'll also go into the kind of crazy curveball that kind of came in the middle of this fast with uh it was extremely unexpected, and it's quite personal to me, but I kind of want to share it. It'll also explain why they were daily update videos, but it's from days 1 through 12, and then from days 34 to 40 it's missing days 13 through 33. I had mentioned in the day 34 video that I didn't have access to internet, and yeah, I'll see if I can kind of shed more light on what happened there in that 20-day period of time. I'll also talk about you know yeah, the refeed and how it's going and how I feel right now. So yeah, hopefully I can cover all the bases and maybe make some chapters on YouTube. This will be like a new experience for me. Um, let's do it. All right, so I think the first thing I'll cover is the basic kind of overview, stats and facts of the fast, I guess. Um, the first is my starting weight was 194.4 pounds at um, December 31st, 3:30 p.m. That's when that's when I started the fast, the timer for the fast. And when I ended the timer for the fast, which was February 9th at 3:30 p.m., I was 150.4 pounds. So I lost 44 pounds in total. Um, the other thing was, what did I consume? It was while I was at home, it was just Fiji water. That's the only water that I touched. And then for a period of 21 days, from days 13 through 33 of the fast, I was drinking tap water, because I had no access to Fiji water. So that's all I consumed throughout the fast. No supplements, no electrolytes, nothing. Fiji water does have some naturally occurring dissolved solids. You can look up the stats for what its content is, but it's nowhere near like what the recommended supplementation things are for electrolytes. Um, I chose this way of going about it without supplementing with electrolytes because I had seen that um, in some of the popular fasting clinics, such as True North Health Center and Tanglewood Wellness Center in Costa Rica, they would fast clients up to 40 days without supplementing electrolytes. And the guy who ran the Tanglewood Center would say that you know you don't truly kind of tap into that fully fasted state for as long as you're supplementing with some kind of nutrient intake. And the fact that people were able to do it without taking electrolytes gave me the confidence that I can do it too. I feel that I have a healthy body, and I also have confidence that if something were to go wrong, and it would get into like dangerous territory, then I would know about it. My body would give me that signal. Of course, this is obviously a risky thing to do, and I'm not recommending anyone do it, but this was my own personal choice. So yeah, I think that covers the basic um, facts of the fast. And obviously, I was for 40 days and like 2 minutes for was my timer. Um, yeah, that's the basic overview. All right, now that we've covered the overview, let's kind of rewind back in time and let me riff on what kind of led up to the fast and why I wanted to do it in the first place. Yeah, I've been fasting like on and off, for like 10 years now. Like, not dedicatedly, but like it's been a part of my life, you could say, in the sense that there'd be days where I'm like, maybe I should fast. It's kind of like a reset button a little bit. Just like how sometimes I like to like shave my head bald, just as like a reset. Like fasting can feel like a reset as well. And especially when I'm getting a little bit too gluttonous with like food or anything else, just fasting does the trick for me. I would say it is a powerful tool I have in my toolbox. So yeah, I said I started 10 years ago approximately, but I was doing like 36-hour fasts for the most part for the longest time. I think maybe 2 years, 3 years ago, or 2 or 3 years ago is the first time I did like a 3-day fast. And just, you know, I think August of 2025, I did an 11-day water fast. Um, in that water fast, I was actually shooting for 2 weeks. But on day 11, um, I picked up some sort of like viral feeling sickness, right? I had like a flu like symptoms and stuff, and I was like, yeah, let me just break the fast so I can take some Tylenol and not feel this shitty. So, you know, yeah, that was my first experience at like a long fast, 11 days. And that, I mean, all my fasts were always just water only, no supplementation or anything. But doing that 11-day fast kind of like whet my appetite. It was like, okay, so, it was easy until that 11th day, like when I got hit with that like viral infection or something. So I figured, like, huh. And I also felt really good after that fast as well. And so that kind of planted the seed in my mind. It's like, how far can I push this thing? And so that's when I started doing a bunch of research on, you know, like, do people actually do this? Like, how long do people actually fast without supplementation? And do they see benefits from it? And so that's when I, started doing research on like these fasting clinics. Buchinger Wilhelmi, I think in Germany, True North Clinic in California, Santa Rosa, California, and Tanglewood Wellness Center in Costa Rica, which is now shut down. And yeah, people do 40-day fasts, and that I don't think that's really like public knowledge. People think only like Jesus Christ did that shit or something. But people actually do these fasts. I mean, obviously under like medical supervision. Um, but the fact that it can be done, it's like, why can't I do it? Yeah, that's just my mentality. So that was like planting the seed, like back in August of 2025. Um, and there were there were times when I wanted to start it back in 2025, but it never like panned out. It would only get to like 4 or 5 days, and then I would just like start eating. But as the new year approached, what better way to start a year than to start it with an epic goal that you have in mind, and like with the turning of the year from 2025 to 2026, it felt like a golden opportunity to try to do this thing that I knew if I was able to do it, I would never forget it for the rest of my life. I would draw strength from it for everything going forward. And so I told a couple of my friends. I didn't tell everybody, but I told like a couple of close friends, like, I'm gonna do this. Like, I'm going to fucking do it. And I also like figured it would be a good idea to like record daily videos, and in that way that'll give me something to look forward to each day. Like, okay, like one day has gone, I can record a video. One another day has gone, I can record another video, right? And so, you can watch the earlier videos where like I'm still unsure if I'm gonna be able to make it 40 days because it's like a hail mary, right? But you know, as one day led into the next, my confidence started building. Um, but I'm 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 getting a little bit sidetracked and going into the fast instead of sticking with the inspiration. So I'll just say, to sum it up for the inspiration, I felt like I was getting complacent. I felt like I'm kind of just not accessing my potential or flowering into the human being I know I can be, and getting stuck in like certain destructive habits or patterns. And I figured the best way to do like a complete psychological, spiritual, physical reset was to do something that challenged my willpower, my patience, my preparation, my commitment, everything. Like all of these like internal mental muscles and like physical muscles, right? Like challenging my body to like pull on its reserves, and not in an unhealthy way, right? Like if it ever felt like really unhealthy, I would have probably stopped the fast. But just, yeah, like mm, pushing myself mentally and physically, you know, and also serving as a reset and a transition into a new and upgraded chapter of life. I'm 31 years old now, and I figured what better time to do it than now, at the start of the year of 2026. So that's the inspiration, and that's what led up to the fast. And I will get into the beginning of the fast, and going forward from there. All right. Now getting into the fast, into the early days of the fast. Um, where my mind was at was, just get through the first day. The first day, that's what my mentality was. Because the way I operate is, once I get the ball rolling, then it's pretty hard to stop. Whichever direction the momentum gets going in, like kind of like a freight train in that regard. And so, the first day went by, and I was able to make a day two video, and I was like, okay, now the ball's rolling. Let's keep it rolling. And that was my mentality. I didn't know how far I would make it. I didn't know what I would encounter, but I knew that if I could make it the next 24 hours, then I would be able to make another update video. And that was my way of kind of breaking it into smaller chunks and keeping it like a manageable goal. Um, I think just on day two, I had like a headache. But besides that, I didn't even get lightheaded. I didn't have any like symptoms at all. I will say that throughout the entire fast, I walked very slowly, very gingerly. Anytime I had to climb steps, I was going like one step at a time, like very, very slowly, because I knew that I wasn't supplementing with anything. And um, I didn't want to strain my heart, basically. And, if I did climb the stairs too quickly, I would feel my heart rate like kind of increase like pretty fast. And, that wasn't a really comfortable thing. I knew that that was like an expected thing that would happen on the fast. And so, like, it didn't cause any alarm, but I wanted to not strain my heart as much as I could. Um, Another thing is throughout the fast, I did not work at all. I had no commitments, yeah, no work. So I was able to dedicate all my mental energy to this fast and this fast alone. Okay, now the uh, part of the story that I'm kind of nervous to share. What happened between days 13 and 33? Um, and this is going to require a little bit of backstory. And I know, you know, this might be met with suspicion, skepticism, but I'm just going to share whatever the truth is, right? The truth is that I got a DUI, a DUI driving under the influence, back in December of 2024. Um, and because of that, I was on probation. I didn't go to jail for that. I didn't serve time in jail for that, but I was put on probation for that, even though my charge was downgraded to a reckless driving. It was reckless driving with DUI conditions. And so uh, I had a probation officer and I had to take random drug tests that tested for, I don't know, like 5 panels. Um, I don't know, THC and a bunch of other stuff. I don't do any of those things anyways, but I also test for alcohol. Um, I will say, straight up that, I did drink while I was on probation. But I had 5 total drug tests while I was on probation. And um, I tested negative for my first 4 drug tests. Even though I was drinking on probation, it's because I knew that the test would only be accurate or test positive like within 48 hours of drinking. And so if I did drink and if I got the call that I needed to come in and do the test, I would flush my system and drink a lot of water and basically be able to get underneath the threshold to test negative. And I wouldn't, I didn't test positive for alcohol. The crazy part of this is I had a uh, drug test on January 5th. Now, remember, this is on day 5 of my fast. This is on day 5 of my fast. And I've only drank water. And so so this time I don't have to like, or at least in my mind, I don't have to like, drink a bunch of water and, flush my system so that I can pass the test. I haven't been drinking alcohol, right? Um, so it should be just routine. I just go give the urine sample and, go back home. And so I take the test on January 5th. I go back home, I don't even think anything of it. And my final meeting with my probation officer is on January 12th, which is on day 12, day 12, or, crossing into day 13 of the fast. And, I'm happy as hell. Like, it's my last meeting, I get off probation. Um, and I have my community service letter in hand to hand in and complete all my terms. And I go in and I get arrested. When I see my probation officer, uh, there's 2 cops standing there, and they tell me turn around, face the wall. That you have a warrant for your arrest, and I just have no words. I'm just completely speechless. I'm not even saying anything. And as I'm being handcuffed, my probation officer says, "Oh, you tested positive for alcohol," and I just don't even know what to say. And so, kind of long story short, I'm not going to bore you with all the details, but I get a violation of probation. And with a violation of probation or a VOP, there's no bail. You get no bail, and the only way you can get out is after you see the judge in court, or, there's something called a consent for release that the probation officer can sign off on. So essentially, um, the route that me and my parents helped me out with this went is by attempting to get consent for release from the probation officer because my court date was on February 10th. So I was put in jail on January 12th, and my court date is February 10th. And February 9th would have been the 40th day of the fast. So I would have had to stay in jail until the fast ended, or like past 40 days if I didn't get a consent for release. So my parents acquired a lawyer and they did some negotiation and we got the consent for release, and I was finally released on February 2nd, which was day 34 of my fast, I think. So I was in jail for 21 days, and for the 21 days that I was in jail, I mean, that's a story for another time, like what actually happened in jail and all the details with that. But basically, I stayed on my fast 100%. The only thing that touched my lips was that tap water from the jail. It was really, really shitty water. I'm not gonna lie. Like coming from the Fiji water to that, the first day, like my mouth, like my gums puffed up, my throat puffed up. It just felt like it was like poisoning me, but I couldn't do anything about it. Can't use the commissary funds for any kind of bottled water or anything. So all the food trays that I got, I just gave it away to different people. I stayed to myself. Anyways, the jail stories are for another time. But that was the big twist in the story, and that's why I couldn't actually post daily update videos for those 21 days. And what's crazy is if you look at the earlier videos, I was saying like I want to not only fast from food, but I'm thinking about, going into like solitude mode and like getting off of the internet and spending less time on like watching like these food YouTube shorts. And wouldn't you know it, I end up in jail testing positive for alcohol while I'm fasting. And I'm in jail for 21 days. 21 days and like 6 hours was the exact amount of time I was in custody. It was tough. It was fucking tough. I will say that, but I learned a lot. I don't think, I feel like when you set out to do a 40-day fast, you're telling God or the universe, whatever you want to call it, you're telling yourself, I want to be tested. And I don't think I could have gotten a better test. Going to jail, as crazy as it sounds, was probably some kind of answered prayer. And I can honestly say I'm grateful for that experience. Although I would never, ever, 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 ever want to ever go back. So that explains that like curveball. It doesn't give all the details as what all the jail stories, but that's not really relevant to the fast. The basics is that all I did was drink the water, the tap water there. So yeah, I got back on day 34, and I was thinking about breaking the fast at that point. I was like, if I just push to 40, it's just gonna be ego. But I got back, and a couple of my friends were like, "Hey, you said 40 days. You're so close. Just do it and keep your word." And that kind of resonated with me because it's like, for the longest time, like, I mean, I used to be really like a man of my word, but like somewhere in my 20s, I kind of lost my way in terms of that, where I'd say something and then like, eh, what does it even really mean, anyways? But this feels like a return back to that, just like the fact that I said it and I stick to it, there's a power in that, there's some, you like reinforce a certain kind of muscle and a strength, right? Like that you said something and you actually did it. No shortcuts, no skimming off the edges, You did it. You did what you set out to do. And so, from days 34 to 40 or whatever, like, it wasn't too hard. There were days that I was bored, but I was just really happy to be out of jail, So that was like carrying me through. And I'll be honest, like, even on day 40, I felt like I could go like 2 more weeks. That like it didn't feel like impossibly hard, but at that point, I felt like it would just be pushing myself just for like egoic reasons. And there's potential dangers at that point. You know, the potential dangers that I don't really feel are worth it. You know, it's yeah. I set out to do 40 days. I did 40 days, and that's that. And that's my story. All right. So I said I was gonna answer like the questions that I got on Reddit and stuff, but I've been talking for a long time. I don't remember the last time I've talked this much in my entire life, especially just looking at a camera. It's kind of out of my comfort zone, but I guess it's cool. I'm exploring new things. So yeah, I'm not gonna answer all bunch of the questions and stuff. I'll just kind of cut to the chase as to the refeed period. After I completed the 40 days, I had a protocol, which I'll try to link in the description. It was a PDF that was given to me by someone on Reddit, actually, someone that did a 40-day fast at home, and it was it was basically a very like cautious way to like refeed, um, and I thought it was a good idea to follow it. I followed it for the first 2 days to the T. I think the third day I started deviating from it, and I added like mushrooms and like black pepper. My spice cravings started kicking in, and then like day four or day five, like I just completely kind of just went with whatever I was feeling like eating, like idlis with coconut chutney, and you know, started slowly like easing back into like the foods that I really like, and I think I stayed away from meat until like maybe day seven. I think 6 or 7, maybe. Yeah. So I did stay away from meat for a while, but yeah, the refeed was going great. You know, regular bowel movements, and no nothing that was concerning at all. You know, I felt amazing. I felt the energy coming back and the nutrients coming back. I went up from like 150 pounds to like 160 pretty quickly within like I think 7 or 8 days. Now there's just like one wrinkle I guess I want to give my attention to, which is I think on day 8 I let loose. I ate like a whole like habanero pepper. I put it in like a soup. I just like kind of chopped it up, put it in a soup with a bunch of corn, and like red chili powder and mushrooms, and so that habanero pepper, that's way too much for a stomach that that has its lining like very very sensitive after a 40-day fast. That was a mistake. Corn was also a mistake because corn is like harder to digest than like some meats because of the cellulose that's around the corn kernels. And then I also drank milk and ate Oreos that day. So I just went balls. I just went buck wild, you know what I mean? Like I just lost my shit. I just started like eating like everything. I got like I guess like overconfident. And then like I think to make matters worse, on like day 9, the next day, like I went and ate a Chick-fil-A sandwich, and then I went and got Chinese food. So basically just said fuck it to the refeed completely, which I do not recommend anybody do. And I got what was coming to me. So like my intestines went into like flush mode. I did some research on this. Uh, it's probably the combination of things: the habanero, the corn, the chicken, the Chinese steak, everything. And so like my body just started flushing. So like I couldn't even drink water without it coming out the other end like instantly, if you know what I mean. So this lasted for like 24 hours. It was just nonstop. Like I couldn't even hold in water. I did some research, and there's a way to kind of reverse that flush mode that your intestines are in. It's by consuming something called a ORS. I think it's like oral rehydration solution, which was like 1 liter of water with 6 teaspoons of sugar and a half teaspoon of salt, and you just kind of like sip that slowly, and that like reverses your flush mode reflex in your intestines. Like it instead of like the intestines like secreting the water so that it like flushes everything, it begins to absorb the stuff again. I'm not sure about the exact science, but it worked. I drank the ORS, and it calmed my stomach down. I waited like an hour and then started sipping water, and then I waited an hour, and then I ate like pav bhaji masala and like wheat bread, and that was able to stick in my stomach. And yeah, I think so. Yeah, for like 24 hours from like day 8 to day 9, like I was flushing everything. But after that, my stomach settled down, and now the digestion is just perfect. I even ate like a bunch of chicken today, idli and chicken korma, and yeah, some of my mom's amazing cooking. And yeah, it's day 10 of the refeed, and I feel like I'm basically back to my old diet, except, in lesser quantities. I get full much quicker. Um, but I feel absolutely amazing. I feel so alive. Like, I just feel so alive. Yeah, it's just like, I'm here, man. I am here. Like, let's fucking go. I'm so grateful. So grateful, Yeah, like going on walks in the morning, just like praying to the skies. Like, there's no words. There's no words for the amount of gratitude I feel in my heart. And yeah, I think I'm just gonna leave it there. But yeah, thanks for watching. If anyone watched all this, God bless. Thank you.